Okay, this is Kira's Lollipops or Shining Needle class. And today we're going to be focusing on stitching the ditch. And on your directions, they would be on page 24. All right, so stitching the ditch is nothing more than stitching on top of beads that you have already stitched on. And I'm looking, these are supposed to be red. They don't look red on the screen. Oh well, they're red. Maybe it's just the color of my screen. So we're going to continue on. So in your instructions, you will say add a new thread or move your thread over to any bead. And for you all, it would have been on center stripe row 9. It's a row of gold beads. So what you're going to be doing is stitching from gold bead to gold bead, beads that are already there. Now my beads are red so that you can see them, but for you all, they would be gold. So you move your thread over to any of those gold beads, it doesn't matter which one, and have your thread exiting the gold bead. Then it says beading from, so we're going to be doing now center stripe SD-1. That stands for stitch in the ditch number 1. So beading from gold bead to gold bead, you're just going to be peyoteing in another bead. For you guys, it'll be a B bead and then a W bead. For the demo, it's going to be black so that you'll be able to see it. All you do is just going to thread into the next bead that's on that row, and then your bead that you added is just going to sit on top of your beadwork. And you just keep going from bead to bead. Now, when you're doing stitch in the ditch, it's really just peyote. It's very easy to do. You can see them sitting there right on top of your beadwork. Just go slow because my beads are real big. So I've got a lot of play in them and they're big so that you guys can see what I'm doing. But you guys are going to be working with the delicas and they're going to be kind of beaded tight. So you don't want to break the beads. Just very slowly go, you know, take your time. This row will end and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. But take your time and go slow so you don't break any beads as you're going along. So you're just beading from the gold bead to the gold bead and adding another bead. Now, another trick about beading, doing stitch in the ditch is my bead is red, so I can tell very easily where it is. Your beads may not be a different color and you'll be instructed to stitch in the ditch. And maybe they're all gold. And you have to just make sure that you're staying on the row that you were instructed to stay on. So really that's all there is to stitch in the ditch. It's easy, just go slow, make sure you're staying on the row you're on. So I'm just going to continue going around and whoops, I went through 2 beads there. And then I want to show you how you're going to do your step up. Just going from, and stitch in the ditch is a lot of fun because it allows you to do add dimension to your beadwork. You can have all kinds of fun stuff sticking off of what would be a flat piece of beadwork. If you do a stitch in the ditch, you're suddenly giving it dimension and there's fun things you can do with it. A stitch in the ditch row will make your fringe lay a lot nicer, and because you're not trying to hang a fringe off of something that is completely flat, you're hanging it off of something that's already hanging off your beadwork. That's what the stitch in the ditch will allow you to do. So it's kind of a neat stitch and it's got a lot of good purposes. So we're coming around and we're going to get, I just want to show you this step up. You guys, while you're beading along, if you find a bead that's wonky, this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's cut funny. Get rid of them. Don't try and put those in your beadwork. All right, so I'm going to add the last bead. Okay, so it's going to sit right here in this space. I'm going to go into the red bead. For you guys, it'll be gold. Now, there's nowhere to add more beads. There's nowhere for me to go. I'm sitting there with one of my black beads on top. So to step up to the next row on a stitch in the ditch, I'm just going to thread through that black bead. And now I'm ready to start the next row of stitch in the ditch. Okay, so it's really, the next row is not really going to be a stitch in the ditch row because we're not going to be stitching on top of beads that are already there. We're going to be doing regular peyote and just going from bead to bead. So let me, you just go like you do regular peyote, and those beads are just going to fit in those spaces. Hope you guys can see that okay. And that's all there is to stitch in the ditch. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.